Well, good evening, dear friends. I'm standing in for Brother Leslie, who normally does the emceeing. My name is Sirisena Pereira. I'd like to make an introduction. First, welcome again, Bhikkhuni Bodhicitta. She just told me that she hasn't been here since 2017 or 2018. I was a bit surprised, all right? So she's quite new to this building, actually. She remembers the old hall. Today's talk by Bhikkhuni Bodhicitta Theri, I'd like to give a background of Bhikkhuni. Bhikkhuni Bodhicitta Theri is a well-experienced meditation teacher with over 35 years of practice. Venerable was an anagarika under Ajahn Chah Forest tradition. Venerable was ordained as a seminary by Venerable P. Sivali Mahathero in 2007. Bhikkhuni received a Upasampada higher ordination in 2010 at Dekaduvala Bhikkhuni Training Center in Sri Lanka under the tutelage of Venerable Dr. M. Punnaji Mahathera and Venerable Bhikkhuni Kusuma, both of whom I think we are quite familiar with at Buddhist Mahavihara. A Sri Lankan by birth, her path of secular higher studies pursuing biomedicine in Australia met a surprising turn of events when the Dhamma made her view of life with a different paradigm. The Venerable then started a journey of homelessness, a clear and meaningful path of full-time commitment to spiritual endeavor. Venerable's main passion is to practice and actualize the Buddha's teachings. Her primary interest is transforming her own mind to contribute to society and to the welfare of others. Bhikkhuni aspires to be a person practicing bodhicitta, popular in Mahayan tradition, to be totally selfless. She believes it is the only way to overcome emotional afflictions the world over is experiencing today, helping to bring all others to an elevated state of mind that can experience a higher conscious level that frees one from all stress and suffering. She is the founder of the Melbourne Nisala Aruna Meditation Center and Aruna Nuns Monastery and Retreat Center in Sri Lanka.
With the permission of the Mahasangha, may I speak few words in the Dhamma. Dear devotees in the Dhamma, it's a pleasure to be here with you all tonight after a long time. I think ever since Bhante Punnaji has passed away, I haven't been here, and this is the first time after. So it's nice to see you all. I can see some familiar faces. A lot of changes. And I'm very appreciative that the Buddhist Mahavihara arranged this talk while I'm here. So much merits for Brother Leslie and for all the committee members for doing this. So today's topic is about us, something that is I guess very soon it will be very relevant to all of us. Because I think not just in the West, might be the case in here as well, that a lot of people are suffering from mental imbalances. I think by 2030, 50% of our society will be affected from that. So it is something that is very scary. What's going to happen to us? If we get sick physically, it's not a big issue. You can get treatments and then you bounce back. And you can live a normal life after that. But if we get a mental sickness, it's not easy to bounce back, and it's not easy to live with them, and for themselves also, it's not easy for them to look forward to live as well. So more than the physical suffering, the mental suffering is the worst suffering. Buddha points out that we all have a mental, some type of a mental imbalance. Buddha calls Puthajjano Unmattako. So we all have some type of a mental instability. As you know, until someone come to the realization and understand the realities as it is, we all live in our own mind-made realities. So if we don't work to wake up from this umatua, or this mental problem will only continue to grow. So this is what we are seeing today. At the moment, when someone deviates from the normal behavior, we can see it and we call them, or they have a problem, so like that. But very soon, if we all fall into that category, we won't even be able to recognize that we have a problem. That's where the scary part is going to be. Because this is going to continue and increase, so by 2020, about half the population, they're kind of predicting. So you can imagine how long it will take for the 100% of the society to be there. So, it is time now the wise people pay attention to this. Because if we don't do anything right now, we will end up in that category too. So one may ask, if it's happening to everyone, so why not? What's the problem if everyone has a mental problem? So, no problem. The problem is, more we deviated from the realities and more we create our own realities and we learn to live in our own la-la land, more suffering will come with that. And that suffering is not just going to end here and now in this life. It will continue even the life after. That's the worst part. Now if you had a physical problem, after we die here, that's gone. But these mental afflictions, not going to stop there. Because whatever the mental state that we have at the deathbed, at that last breath, that is the state of the mind that's going to start with a new beginning. So if we don't look after the mental health, it's not just going to bring suffering here and now in this life, but even life after it will continue. So it's very dangerous. And by now, I hope that most of you have experienced either we ourselves having a problem with our own mind, having no control over emotions and just emotions controlling us, having no control over the thoughts are running 100 miles per hour, or living with someone who has no control over their mind. And I hope we have experienced to some extent that how difficult it is to manage this situation, if it's someone else or if it's you. Because naturally we like to be very peaceful. And when we are peaceful, we are very relaxed. And that relaxation brings a lot of comfort and a true, good quality, very satisfied feeling, a very happy feeling. But when we lose our good mental health, what happens? We lose that. When we lose that, what do we have? What do we get? A disturbed mind. A mind that is running all over the place all the time and getting emotional and having to live with a lot of mood swings throughout. And with living with these emotions all the time will bring hormones to the body all the time, and then these hormones, some of the hormones that work with the fight or flight reaction will bring this adrenaline, and adrenaline will tense the body muscles. When the muscles are tensed, we feel very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. So when we are mentally not really well, not just we suffer because of the uncontrollable moods, but physical body also will start to give problems, troubles. So this is why Buddha says, Arogya Paramalabha. It's very important for us to have a good, healthy, sound mind. If we lose that, we are going to suffer a lot. Now, how are we going to protect our mind health, or keeping a good sound mind, a healthy mind? Why that so many are getting these mental afflictions? How come at the moment 1 in 3 has a problem? By 2030, 1 in 2. So this is where the problem is. So how come this is happening like this? This is where the Buddha is pointing out a very, very important point. As normal Pruthajjana lay people, they think to find happiness, the way to find happiness is to please our senses and get these pleasures, experience the good pleasures, and that is the way to find happiness. Come sapper, pleasing all your senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, the body, the mind. And we come to a false belief that when you please these, when you stimulate them, yes, it does give a pleasure, that pleasure is the kind of a highest happiness that we can have. So we believe in this. Samsara is the best quality happiness that we can have, and we devote our whole life to entertain our senses. From the little child, we send them to the tuition. Why? Because we want them to get a good education, compete with others and get into a higher position in the society, get a good job, and then earn good money. Why? To acquire a good house, a good vehicle, to be able to buy anything and everything as you wish, to gain ability to please your senses quickly as possible. This is what we practice today. And we devote our whole life to find happiness in that way until we die. But Buddha is pointing out, Kamati Jayati Soko, contrary to what we believe. Buddha is saying that going after these sensual pleasures and trying to please your senses, stimulating these senses and pleasing these senses is going to lead to a lot of suffering. It's going to bring a lot of physical, mental suffering. But even though we call ourselves Buddhist, I don't think we have understood what Buddha said. If we have, you will see the Buddhists are not getting into those statistics. The Buddhist will be keeping a very good, healthy, sound mind. Why? Because they have understood. Trying to please your senses as much as you can is destroying us, is bringing a lot of physical, mental suffering. So therefore, we must not indulge in this. We must not go after pleasing our senses. We must. Then what should we do? What does Buddha says? Buddha says, live the life with a meaningful way. Wake up to the realities and live your life in a meaningful way and use your senses to get to that, your destination. Don't be a slave to the senses. Don't live just to please your senses. But learn the meaning of life and live a good quality life and use your senses to help to get to where you want to get to. Master the senses. When you do that, when we live with a purpose, everything will start to align for us to gain a good, healthy mind, a sound mind. But first we need to understand what others have taught us and what we believe this Samsara, pleasing the senses, will bring a real good quality happiness. We need to start to question that. Buddha pointed out that there are two ways that we can get happiness. There is two types of qualities. If we are to grade the happiness, there's a lower grade quality happiness and a very good quality happiness. Lower grade quality happiness, temporary pleasures, can be achieved by developing this kama vitarka, the pleasing your senses, and developing vyapada vitarka, developing the ill thoughts, and developing the hinsa vitarka, that is developing cruel thoughts, violent thoughts. So when you develop this type of thoughts, yes, it is possible to get happiness. But the problem is, this is the common way. This is what we do to find happiness. This is what commonly people do. But what we need to understand is, yes, by following these thoughts, we can get emotional and we can get happiness, but they have a lot of bad consequences. For example, why people use the drugs, the ganja or the marijuana or the liquor or cigarette? Why do they use this? Because higher the strength, it relaxes you straight away. If you talk to someone who is taking marijuana or LSD or some drug, why they even get addicted, why they even can't live without it? Because when you take that, it relaxes you straight away. It acts on the centers in the brain that relaxes you on the spot. Then what happens? When you are relaxed, you are very comfortable. So then when the body is so comfortable, naturally you get this very satisfied feeling, very calming feeling, very happy feeling. So we can live in that for few moments, few minutes, few hours, until that dose is there. But after that dose wears out, that high state feeling also will come down, go away. Now we will need to take these outside drugs over and over when it wears out to get that feeling. So what happens, it is messing up our brain circuitry. Naturally, in our brain, we are quite capable of producing these hormones that can totally relax our body to the level that we don't feel a body or we feel like floating, and gives us bliss, a very good quality, very satisfied happiness. There is a natural mechanism in our brain. When we purify our mind, we can get to that. We can stimulate the pineal gland and we can be happy. But when we take these outside things, it messes up with the natural pathways, and at the same time, as a consequence of these drugs, and some can be toxic, some can interfere our growth, and some kills the brain cells, and not just the brain cells, the other organs as well. So when we settle into these quick methods to find relaxation, so that was just one example I said, but why people watch TV, watch pornography, settle into playing games, going to tours and just shopaholic? No, it doesn't matter what you do, whatever you do to find happiness. So whatever that relaxes us, we settle into that. But a lot of these methods have consequences. That's the problem. Now, if you're settling into finding this relaxation through using these very expensive drugs and something that's messing up with our brain circuitry and also killing the brain nervous cells, after a few years of experiencing bliss, but as a consequence of taking this over and over, what will happen? You will have to increase the dose to get the same pleasure, so you keep on increasing the dose. So we keep increasing the rate that we are killing our brain. So one fine day, we will be left like a retarded person. We won't be able to think rationally, logically. We won't be able to make good decisions. We will lose our mind. When we lose our mind, the ability to think and act, naturally we are governed by our DNA. The limbic system, like in the animals, that limbic system will take the control over, and we will start to live with emotions. We have to think rationally, logically, make decisions, and we have to use the brain to do that. But when the limbic system takes over, we don't need to do that. It will automatically go in the autopilot. You will live with the emotions. It is at this time that no longer you will have any control over your emotions, but the emotions itself will run the program. That's when we say that mind is a very sick mind, mentally ill. So this is what happens. If we settle into, even though if we think very innocent to watch the TV all the time, to listen to the music all the time, watch the pornography, play games, they look very innocent. But the amount of stress that they put on our brain, on our body, and the amount of emotions that bring, and the amount of damage it does, after some time, all the shortcuts that we try to get relaxation will lead to a lot of suffering. So not just that avenue, but if we practice to find this happiness by developing ill thoughts, again the same problem happens. This is why people are addicted to get angry. When people are angry, they find enjoyment. When we are angry, if we understood that there is suffering, we will not get angry. We will do things to manage the anger. But instantly what happens, we get kind of a pleasure. And we get addicted to that. So when someone, if they don't manage this anger, they will start to get angry over and over and over. To the slightest thing, they will start to get angry. Why? Because they find some enjoyment from that. So Buddha is pointing out, trying to find happiness through that way also wrong. Because that has a lot of consequences as well. And the situation gets worse. This is what I see now in the society. After this developing the ill thoughts, it will lead to violence. Naturally, cruel thoughts will start to arise. When this cruelty, violence dominate the brain, your thoughts, we start to get this sense to find happiness in a very wicked way. We like to hurt others and find happiness. We like to hurt ourselves and find enjoyment. This is the worst. This is what you're seeing today around the world. This is where when the mental illness hits kind of the maximum, that's the signs that we see. It is a healthy mind that enjoys harmony, that enjoys not hurting others, but when they see others are hurt, when they see others are in need, they naturally, compassionately give their hand to free them from whatever the suffering they are going on. And they find a lot of happiness, enjoyment by doing that, by helping, by being there, by being compassionate. Opposite of this finding happiness by being compassionate is developing these cruel thoughts, the nasty thoughts, and settling into violence and finding enjoyment. This is why the domestic violence is going up high. The conflicts in the office, in the village, in the country, and among the countries, there's wars. This is why. And then the opposite of this, developing the ill thoughts and finding happiness, the opposite is, instead of ill thoughts, we are to develop friendly thoughts. We are to develop caring thoughts. Instead of developing this, going after these sensual pleasures, we are to see this problem. It all starts from this developing the sensual pleasures, and when we can't get what we want, or when we lose what we like, we settle into the ill thoughts. Then if the ill will is not controlled, it will lead to violence. So everything starts from this karma, going after the karma. So this is why Buddha says, this kamati jayati soko, this going after pleasing the senses only leads to a lot of physical and mental suffering. This is why we are to give it up. Normally we can't do that, because now we have learned from the childhood. Now this is what the adults we do now. We have found avenues, we have created things for the children to find happiness in very easy ways, very addictive ways. Like the kids now, they don't have to go and buy the drugs. Only what they have to do is play games. The same centers that activates when we take drugs gets activated when you play games for a few hours, and then they get that pleasure, they get that relaxation. But the research is showing now, as if you're taking cocaine, when you play games, it will kill the brain cells. It will have the same effects as if you've been taking drugs. It's that dangerous. So we adults have created this for the kids. So this is where we are today. We devote whole life to find happiness through these wrong ways. There is 3 ways to find wrong happiness. In the wrong ways, by developing the kama vitarka and settling into kama chanda, settling into displeasing the senses, and developing the vyapada vitarka and settling into this ill will and anger and hatred, to find happiness in that way. And then developing this hinsa vitarka and practicing violence and cruelty, finding happiness. So Buddha pointed out these wrong ways are to give up, because you can get momentary relaxation and happiness, but it will have consequences. It will make you sick physically, it will make you sick mentally. So as you can see, why we are having this problem today, why it's like wildfire, spreading like wildfire, because we have found so many avenues now to find pleasure to please our senses and find pleasure in that way. And we have given access to our children to do this from morning to night, night to morning. So as a result of this, what we are having is not people with sound minds, not intelligent people, not wise people. We are not, our future generation is not going to be very loving, very kind, very compassionate, very wise. But what we will have is the opposite. They will go to university, they will study, they will go to uni, they will do a good job. But on the way to that position, they have lost their humanness, because we have lost the strength in the brain and lost the mind power, because we killed it in the process of finding relaxation and happiness. So we will have people working in the human body but non-human like, more like animal and non-human like, the qualities. So then it's going to be very difficult for us to live in this human way on this earth as a human being. It's going to be very difficult to live if we continue to settle find this low quality, low grade happiness. So this is the time that we should listen to Lord Buddha seriously. Why I use that word seriously? Because I know people call, I'm a Buddhist, we are Buddhist, but we have a depressed child in the house, or we have someone who is already suicidal in the house. We have someone who can't face problems, they don't know what to do. First thing will be crying for days, or getting angry, or having anxiety and worries all the time. If we have been listening to Buddha and practicing, living a meaningful life, a purposeful life, and using senses to get to where we want to go, and finding the relaxation and happiness in the right way, we Buddhists will not have this problem. But if the Buddhists are also facing this mental illness problem and suicides and all these things, that means we have not followed our teachers, Lord Buddha's advice properly. For the name's sake, we keep saying that I'm a Buddhist. But just because you become a Buddhist, we will not benefit in any way. We need to become a Buddhist with understanding. We need to understand a Buddhist means someone who is following Buddha's footsteps. That means we have to listen to Lord Buddha and do what the Buddha asks us to do, and walk towards where the Buddha is. Then we will become a Buddhist. Whether we are born to a different religion doesn't matter. Now some Christian people come. When I had that retreat in Sri Lanka just before, Mari's brothers came. So I told them that you don't need to change your religion. Stay where you are and be a good Maris brother, be a good Christian, be a good Catholic. Buddhist means you becoming very good. You understand things and you develop your good qualities, the humanness, and finding the proper way to find the relaxation and happiness. When we do that, when someone is relaxed and they are very peaceful and happy, naturally, they are very caring, they are very loving, they are very kind, they are very compassionate. When someone has a good quality, healthy body and a healthy mind and a good quality life, it's natural to them to care for others' welfare and well-being. It comes naturally. So being a Buddhist means living with a good, sound mind. You can be in any nationality, you can be in any religion. This Dhamma is for anyone and everyone to practice, whoever understands. So anyone can become a Buddhist, regardless of from what background you come from. But you will only become a Buddhist if you understand what Buddha says and you start to practice it. Because only when you practice, there will be a change in the way you think and the ways you find how you're going to relax and how you're going to find happiness in your life. We need to do that transformation. Only if we do that, we can solve this problem, the misery that's waiting. We can reverse it. So what Buddha is pointing out is to understand this. What the animal believe is that the pleasant feeling will give happiness. Avoiding the unpleasant feeling will give happiness. So from the morning to the night, what they do is they go and look for things what they like. If they like to eat from the morning to night, what they do is roam around and look for things that they like to eat. If they don't like something, they will go to fight. But they don't know this brings immense stress to them, to the ones that's around them, and that will lead to a lot of insecurity and a lot of stress, a lot of unhappiness from that. And as a result of living in this way, you lose your good health. It will shorten your lifespan too. So the animals actually, the more the animals that are very active on working on pleasing their senses, they have a shorter life. And this is what is happening to the human beings now, because they are just behaving according to the gene code, like the animals. From the morning to night, they go around thinking what to eat, what to do, what to wear, which pornography to watch, which game to play, which movie to watch, which drama to watch. So if we continue to live just like these animals, there won't be any difference between what the animals have to go through and these human beings. So this is why it's very important now we start to pay attention to what the Buddha is saying, what the Buddha is showing to us. Buddha is saying, from his life example, leading by example, Buddha pointed out, by leaving the palace, by leaving the luxuries, Buddha showed that the true happiness doesn't come from the wealth or the fame or the power or things like that. But the true happiness comes from this real understanding. What brings suffering? What stops suffering? What brings the real good quality happiness? It is having this understanding one can come to experience this good quality happiness. So this is what Buddha is saying. The best thing for a human being to investigate and to understand is called the Chaturarya Satya, or the Four Noble Truths. What is this suffering? What brings this suffering? What is the cause of this suffering? And how to end the suffering? And what is the method to end the suffering? And when you end the suffering, what's left is bliss, comfort, peace, and happiness. So this is the path to happiness. It is that when someone is relaxed and calm and happy, that we say they have a very stable mind, a sound mind, a good mind. So it is through this understanding we can gain good health physically, mentally, and gain a long life, live a good, healthy life with a meaningful way, and live with peace and happiness, and help others also to get to that place, to find the happiness in the proper way. If you are suffering, if we are suffering, why we are suffering? To put this in a nutshell, when people become more and more selfish, self-centered, and they only think about how to find this quick happiness, either by watching the TV or playing games or going to the gym or settling into many other variety of things that we mentioned. Whatever we do selfishly, just to entertain ourselves, just to find pleasure, that will lead to suffering. As you know, I think when I'm here, a lot of the times, I like to emphasize that, and I think Bhante Punnaji had shown it very clearly with the science, that we have two nervous, in our nervous system, there is two parts that take messages. One takes the messages to do with the selfish thoughts, the self-centered thoughts. There's another messaging system that got nothing to do with the self, but any thought that is nothing to do with selfish or self-centered thoughts. The concern about the self, those thoughts, that pathway that carries those thoughts is called the sympathetic. And the other pathway that carries the thoughts that have nothing to do with the sense of self is called the parasympathetic. It is this sympathetic that activates a fight or flight reaction or this stress. All the emotions comes when we activate this sympathetic pathway. The hormones come to tense us and bring a lot of suffering. The other pathway, when we don't have anything, any selfish agenda or any self-centered thoughts, that pathway is connected to the pineal gland, and then when the pineal gland is secreted, it secretes, stimulated, it secretes hormones that gives us naturally that total relaxation and peace of mind and happiness. So it's within us, these two systems. But because we are now very selfish, we are only thinking about I and me and myself and just my family and my loved ones, and I'm devoting whole life for just that bit. What we are activating is the fight or flight reaction, the stress cycle. So everyone is suffering. But if we can practice selflessness, loosening the ego, lessening the ego, getting rid of the ego, getting rid of the sense of the self, this selfishness, not living in the self-centered way, but practicing selflessness. That's the true path to find relaxation, comfort, peace of mind and happiness. So that can be practiced with understanding or without the understanding, but Buddha's method starts from the understanding, from the Samyak Drushti, with this Chaturarya Satya, with the Four Noble Truths. Because that will lead us to investigate, is there a real self or not? Not just tricking the system by not thinking the self, but just thinking, oh, may all beings be well and happy, but going deep and finding whether there is a real self or not. So when you come to this self-realization, is to find that there is only impersonal activities that is going and there is no real self, but it appeared like that. So when you come to that understanding, you understand, this was like a mirage. In the mirage, if we don't investigate, we see water. But if someone investigates, they will find there was no water to begin with. It was only an appearance. The same way here we have this problem. We take the body to be I and me and myself. Here I am. We personalize this body, we personalize our feelings, emotions, we personalize our mood, our thoughts. So practicing the Satipatthana means you investigating each and every point that we personalize as ourselves, myself, and checking whether there is a self in there. So when you do that, we call the Vipassana or the Vidarshana, you will come to the conclusion there is bunch of activities that's going on, but no one doing it, no static thing, no person, no soul. But as long as we were ignorant about this, as long as we were living with avidya, it appeared like that. So when we come to that understanding, we become totally selfless through the understanding that we were deluded all this time, and you wake up to the selflessness. That is called the self-realization. Realizing that no self to begin with. But as long as there is avidya, we will have the thick sense of I and me and myself and ego, because we just live with what we feel, how it appears. We just take, there is water in the mirage. So as long as we live with that umatu bhava, this is why Buddha said putakjana ummattako, as long as we live with that madness that we are not understanding the realities, but we think what the brain says, what the mind thinks, so it's nothing to do, it doesn't match with the reality, but doesn't matter. We believe in that and we live with that. We believe there is water in the mirage because it looks like that, it appears like that. So we plan how to sell the water in there, how to drink that water and quench the thirst, how to purify that water and charge someone. So what will happen is it will only lead to utter frustration, utter suffering. So this is why Buddha says what we have to do is first wake up to the realities. This is what our education was at that time. After the Buddha being born to the world, after Buddha taught the Dhamma, especially the countries that was influenced by this Dhamma, people understood this and they benefited from this. So our education was how to get rid of this avidya, how to get enlightened. But after we were influenced by the West, we were being colonized and a different type of a thought system come to us. It's all about I and me and myself, I being created here, so everything is for my perusal. I can be happy, I can have pleasures at the expense of others, and I should be very concerned about my rights because everything is for me. Everything is about I and me and myself. No practice to lose the self. But what the Buddha taught is the opposite. So when these Buddhist countries were influenced by this wrong thinking, we were misled. And now even in the Buddhist countries, we don't get access to the proper Dhamma, or we don't hear it, we don't really get the access to the proper Kalyana Mittas, and we don't hear the Dhamma. So we do different practices. So this is why the Buddhists also suicide. This is why the Buddhists have stress. This is why the Buddhists have mental illnesses. Because we have not found the right Dhamma and we have not practiced it. Even the Buddhists, so I also have a very much of a concern that in the West now they are teaching mindfulness meditation. So it's in the syllabus now. Someone went to Thailand and meditated and came, so it was very relaxing and he was very happy and came, and now they are trying to incorporate it into that, and they have already started to teach mindfulness. So I asked them, what are you doing? I watch the breath. Okay. So that is mindfulness now. That is what Buddha had taught. Anyone who have researched into the body, to this nervous system and the breath, they know breath, when you consciously breathe in and out, it relaxes us. When we do deep breathing, it relaxes us. There are many methods that we can breathe. We call the pranayama. You practice that. There are certain methods that when we breathe, that stimulates the relaxing centers and we become very relaxed. So watching the breath, again we have settled into watching the breath and find the relaxation, but at least it doesn't have any wrong consequences. Yeah, it's very innocent. You can watch the breath and you can relax. But until you understand the Four Noble Truths and you change your attitude, you will not get enlightened. You will not be free from suffering. So again you are trapped. You are trapped to settle into an easy way to find relaxation, and children and everyone in the West now think, mindfulness is watching the breath. No attitude change. No, we are not changing from being selfish to a selfless being. No. Only just watch the breath. So that's the next thing is, very soon when they find this out, they will not believe in that method also, because they will find it's a short-term, temporary thing. Until you watch the breath, you will relax, you will be happy. But that has no ability to free you from physical, mental suffering or to even get you out from mental problems. Temporary. So very soon, whoever understands this, we need to practice and we need to experience this and teach the proper Dhamma to the world. That it is not by just watching the breath or taking the drugs. Not much difference if you are settling into finding quick relaxation methods to find happiness. What Buddha taught is to relax in the proper way from eliminating the root cause that brought the stress. That was the sense of the self. So what Buddha taught is how to bypass this sympathetic and just activate and live with the parasympathetic when you come to the self-realization. So Buddha's method is not finding the method of just relaxing, but eliminating the problem that brought us suffering, the stress, and to be comfortable, peaceful and happy forever. And we will become immortal, because it was only until we have the self we will be dying. I will die, I will be born. All that problems are there because we have the I in the equation, capital I. But the minute that you penetrate and you realize who was this I, what was this I, what did I take this as the I. When you find this, the activities that was going on, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, that's what I personalized. That's when we will be enlightened. We will know who created this I, or what created this I, or as long as we were ignorant of this activity, we had a self. But when you wake up to this, you're free from that. What you see is some activities going on, impersonal activities. Then you'll be free from the self, notion of self. You're free from death. No self, no one to die. So this is the path to immortality. This is the path to find freedom from all kinds of physical, mental suffering. So this is the only way. So I believe that it's a time for the Buddhists to understand what Buddha taught and become a real good Buddhist and help yourself and help many that is going astray. I think we have a duty, and now the time is passing, so I think I'll stop here, but you all can take time to ask questions if you all have any questions. I do believe that after our Mahanayaka Thero, Venerable Kesari Dhammananda Thero, had set up this place and had influenced Malaysia and Singapore, and that his hard work for it to be truly to come to effect and to help people to bring freedom from suffering, I think now the ones who are having the torch now, after Venerable Kesari Dhammananda Thero had done the hard work and paved the way, now the rest have to work and live with the Dhamma and take it further and help others. So Buddhist Mahavihara is like the center. This is where Venerable Kesari Dhammananda Mahanayaka Thero lived. So I think here you all have a big responsibility, and I know you are doing it well, but I think you all can do a bit more and get enlightened, produce some enlightened people. And you can disseminate the Dhamma from here. Bhante was mostly influencing Malaysia and Singapore at that time. This is about a long time ago. But now you have the technology, you all have a lot of facilities. Now you can influence a bigger range. So I think if Bhante Kesari Dhammananda is still in Samsara with us, if he had not attained Nibbana, wherever he is, I'm sure that he'll be very happy and he will rejoice in the good work that you all do, seeing that all the hard work that he had done by planting the seeds in these countries are now growing and bringing good fruit, good quality, real Dhamma fruit. And also Bhante Punnaji also will be very happy, because after Kirinda Dhammananda Mahanayaka Thero passed away, Bhante Punnaji came and in the relay, so he also had his part and passed away. And I remember when he passed away in July, and I remember that the opening was after that. But saying to someone, if Bhante is in a position where he can see these things, I'm sure he would have attended the opening. They would be very happy. Because Bhante also wanted to see this develop and making these buildings more friendly and helpful, and to have more people for the retreats and for the Dhamma talks, and to be able to stay overnight and stay comfortably so he can teach. And when I was coming up on the lift, I remember he was looking forward to that. So those pioneers will be very happy if people get into the right track and follow the Buddha's footsteps, follow their footsteps, and taste the real fruits of the Dhamma. And if we can help ourselves and others to find the real taste that what the Dhamma can bring, that's the answer to the mental afflictions. People will not get depressed, people will not get mentally sick. We will not have to attend to the suicides. People will be saved. So with that, I will stop here, and I'll give you the opportunity to ask if there's any questions. I will have to give a talk in 1 hour time. So just superficially I just mentioned something, but if there was things that is not clear, you can ask. But I hope you saw the connection between being selfish leads to stress, and being selfless leads to bliss. So what Buddha taught as developing 10 perfections or Dasaparamita is actually how to let go of being selfish and how to develop selflessness. So what we need to practice from morning to night is the Dasaparamitas, what will take away our ego, what will get rid of our sense of self and develop the selflessness. It is to learn that we should come here, we should practice come to the retreats. But then after we leave this place, we have to put that into practice. We need to abide by the Dhamma day to day, every day. Then there will be progress. Then we will get to our destination. What we call the totally becoming selfless is what we call becoming an arahat, when someone realizes the selflessness and start to live just with bliss. We say they have attained the peace of Nibbana. They are experiencing non-shakable state of mind. So it is something to do in this life while we have this physical human body and a good sound mind. So I hope that it makes sense, that whatever I said, I hope it makes sense to you all. Does it or not? Do you have any question you would like to ask? Because I was very tired, I was going to finish it by 9, but it went up to 9:30, but I'm not tired now, so you're welcome to ask questions. Maybe they all are in the path to selflessness, maybe.
All outstanding Buddhists.
Yeah, this place has produced few selfless beings, no? Compared to the average, we had few. Well done. One passed away recently, no? Sister Bodhi was actually a bodhisattva, you know. If you look into, her whole life was dedicated. So you have to fill the gap now. You have to be that bodhisattva. You have a question? Yes, please.
Bhikkhuni, thank you, first of all. I think everyone is quiet because they're pondering and reflecting. There's so much to think of. We have learned so many things, but how do you think people like layperson like us, who has to juggle so many things in life, start with the concept of selflessness without going too extreme and then progressively build into it? Yeah. Thank you.
It also will start from understanding now, whether as a layperson or a monk or a nun, whether as a layperson or a renunciant. The first thing what we need to understand is the purpose of life. If we have lost the purpose of life, we need to understand, if we become selfish and just self-centered and it's only about I and me and my child and my things and my grandchildren and it's all about I and me and myself story, what you will get from practicing that? And that is what the statistics are showing now. What you will get is only the stress and the headaches and the ill health, physically, mentally. A lot of suffering that will not stop in this life, it will continue to the life after as well. So it will come to what we are seeking is happiness. This is why you're doing it, why your parents are giving you education, why we have children, why we want children to learn and do a good job, and why we want to do a good job and earn good money. We want to be happy. But now it's a time to question, are we following the right path? Are we doing the right things to get this happiness? If we investigate, you will see what Buddha said, Kamati jayati soko, Kamati jayati bhayang. This is what we have not paid attention to. We being living the way we want. This is why there is so much stress. So the question is now, are we going to continue? That's all. We were led by that. Are we going to continue? Or are you going to believe in the Buddha and you will start to reorientate into the right direction to find the good quality right happiness, the good happiness, the wholesome happiness that will bring the real satisfied good quality happiness to us without destroying our good health, physical health, mental health and our life. So it's about you questioning yourself, is there a meaning we continue this way of life, living the life like this? So ignorantly, believing in there is water in the mirage and planning to drink the water and quench the thirst and to sell the water and earn money. Are we going to continue to live like that? Or you want to come to the reality, understand the reality and live with the reality. So that's where we have not really understood what Buddha said. Buddha is not asking you to not to live a lay life. Live the lay life, but first wake up and live the lay life. What is stopping you to not understand the Four Noble Truths? What's stopping you to get rid of the avidya or the ignorance? We just need to understand first what do we have to do. When you come to this realization, you can become a better lay person. You can live your lay life. You can be a better, good lay person. If you want to continue the lay life, no problem. So it's about you wanting to have that change. But you need to understand, like today, someone was asking me about their TV, the position of the TV in the house. Big TV and the positioning. So what I said is, they have been to the retreats and all that. And so we think when people practice, we think that by now they may have let go of these things that arouse your system, things that take you away from the peace. So when she's told about this TV thing, I said, well, watching the TV is not going to make you enlighten. So what we want in life, what you want in life. So do whatever you want in life, you want to make the causes and conditions necessary for that effect to come. That's what we have to do. So we want happiness, but we are creating the causes and conditions that is creating stress, that is taking away the happiness we have. That is our problem, because we are so ignorant of this fact, this kamati jayati soko, but we call kamsapa. We say, no, 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 pleasing the senses brings the enjoyment. That is the meaning of life. That is, if we don't do that, what's the meaning of life? Why should we live if I can't please my senses? That's what we believe. So that's why I said we need to start listening to the Buddha seriously. We need to get this point. Then we will stop the speed. We will stop pursuing useless things, empty things that brings the damage, that damages us, that destroys us, the family, the society. If I am to give you so much of examples from Melbourne, Now we work very hard in the interfaith because our city, Greater Dandenong, is a city that it's multicultural, multi-faith. So the religious leaders have a role to play there to keep everyone, in harmony. So when we saw, 20 years ago we didn't hear about domestic violence. But slowly, slowly it started. Then it was getting into the point, it catch everyone's attention, and then everyone wanted to do something to stop this. So we also got involved and write books and prepare the videos and this, that and the other. But I think last month or something, there was some meetings and all that. So our president was saying, well, everything is futile. The domestic violence is shooting, skyrocketing. We don't know how to stop. This is what the stress does. More we do things in the speedy way, more we invest our time from morning to night, night to morning to please the senses, go after the material things, go after pleasing the senses, and do all the useless things and try to find happiness. All you get is utter frustration, and that frustration will surface as anger, anxiety, worries, sadness. And then we are not happy with ourselves. Then I will only have my misery to share. If someone is unhappy all the time, they only know how to share the unhappiness with others. So they share that among the members of the family, among the members of the work, in the society. So it spreads. No one cares. They only know they are unhappy, so who cares about others' happiness when you are unhappy? So we do things to settle from kama vitarka, vyapada vitarka, hinsa vitarka, from pleasing the senses to the developing the ill thoughts, then to hatred, then to cruelty. That's what the domestic violence means. How many deaths are happening now inside the house? Uneducated, educated. Those days people thought, oh, the problems is because people are not educated, we must educate. So we paid attention to education. But now, the most educated also have domestic violence and suicides and depression. So this is where we have to pay attention now. What's wrong? If we listen to the Buddha, take the advice and practice it, we can be a better layperson. As I said, better Christian, better Hindu, better Muslim. It's about developing the humanness. It's about getting rid of this ego, the selfish, the self-centered way, and getting rid of your unhappiness, your suffering. What you will be left with, good human qualities, the great qualities, the love, the peace, the kindness, the compassion, and imperturbable serenity of mind, like Bhante Punjaji says. That is actually the correct word to point out, that peace that develops from this. Because it's unshakable, because there is nothing shakes this, no emotions, no hormones. So it will stay with this peaceful, calm, serene state. This is what we want. So as a layperson, what we need to do is then create the causes and conditions that will create the proper, good quality happiness. So it all starts with understanding. If you understand this point, you will reorientate. If you don't, then we will just continue to live the way we want. Live the way we have been. So you need to contemplate. That is that gatha itself. Kamati jayati soko, kamati jayati bhaya. Kama vipamuttassa natti soko kuto bhaya. Buddha is saying, if you let go of this, chasing this and try to find happiness, if you let go, if you renounce, if you give up trying to please your senses, Buddha says, where on earth, how on earth you are going to get suffering? You will be free from suffering. That's the point that we have not understood. This is why we have not been able to incorporate it into our day-to-day life. We've been going in a different tangent. So the point is, are we going to be practicing selfishness in lay life, or are we going to be a lay person but practicing selflessness? That's the point. Simple. Because you can do whatever you are doing, you can do selfish way or selfless way. Yeah? Is it practical? Yes, of course. People who practice that are the people who we today recognize as great people. From Mahatma Gandhi to Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, whoever some people will call great, they lived among us. They lived as lay people. But they practiced this selfless way of practicing. I don't know, I can't comment whether they got the self-realization or not. But at least they have showed they were not selfish, but they were practicing selflessness. This is why we call them great. So from the great people, out of the great people, the greatest is the Lord Buddha. But if you think there is a big difference between the Buddha and the renunciants, the Sangha, and we are lay people, how to practice this? Well, I just mentioned the names who have practiced the selflessness. It's possible. You just have to have an attitude change, the way you look at things. So if you are a doctor, we will not go to work anymore to get a good salary. But I will be the doctor who would want to free others from suffering. So I will go there, dedicate my time, life, everything, my knowledge, ability to help others. So I will do it with loving kindness, with compassion, wholeheartedly. I have the interest to help the suffering one and to alleviate the suffering. So it's not about the pay. So you can apply like that to everything that you do. So we have to do an attitude change. Instead of doing things for self-gain, we will not do that. We will do it for others' welfare and well-being. That's the one place that we can start to. And that is what the 5 precepts are about. 5 precepts are about that I will not behave selfishly, but I will practice selflessness. I will think about others' welfare and well-being. I will not disturb their peace. I will not bring suffering to them directly or indirectly, with intention or without intention. I will not hurt, harm, do any damage, bring any unhappiness, suffering to any living being. I will manage my behavior in a way that I will not disturb others. Starting with 5 precepts, with understanding. even though we call Buddhist, we don't even keep the 5 precepts because we are practicing it in the selfish way, either to go to heaven, or you are scared to go to hell, or to be the good person in the society. And the others are doing nasty things. We help them, sponsor them by buying those products that involves cruelty. Buddha had pointed out, do not engage in slavery, fish and meat production, weaponry, drugs, alcohol, tobacco, any intoxicants, and poisons. Honestly, tell me, have you boycotted those things? Have you not sponsored them? Have you not bought things? We don't do it. We say, oh, I have no intention. Yeah, but whether we had the intention or not, the damage is being done. We are sponsoring them and we are creating a demand for them to do the evil things, to practice these cruel industries. Why we do it? Because we did not practice the 5 precepts in the proper way. Proper way is in the Attupanayaka Dhamma Pariyaya Padanama. If you don't like something, don't do it to another living being. You put yourself in other shoes. If you don't like to get killed and be in someone's soup, don't do it to another living being, whether you do it or someone else do it for you. If you don't like to lose your child, don't do it to another living being. Whether it's the ant or the cockroach or the chicken or the cow, don't do it. Everyone loves their life. Everyone likes to live. Great human beings have this love, the kindness, the compassion. They help. If they can't do anything, at least they don't disturb others' life, others' things. But here we are, when we are so ignorant, we are still very selfish. We only think about I and me and myself and what I like and what I don't like, I want to get rid of. What I like, I want to get it at the expense of anything, doesn't matter. That is utter selfish way of living. So what Buddha pointed out, don't do this, don't live selfishly. Our agenda should be to be selfless. So it should start with this framework, Panchasila, or the 5 precepts. But it has to come with understanding. Otherwise, there won't be any difference between the ones who are following thou shalt not kill and only we don't kill only the friend. Everything else is okay to kill. And we are doing the same thing. What's the difference? Ne? They say thou shalt not kill. Except the friends, everything else is okay to be killed. Especially the enemies, okay. Animals, okay. So we need to wake up and we need to be true to ourselves. We need to practice this properly if you want to purify your mind from this selfishness and become selfless. And only these pure-hearted people, people who will purify themselves from their greed, hatred and this delusion, will find the good quality, proper relaxation, peace of mind and happiness that we call it when it's not affected from any vicissitude of life. We say they have come to the total unshakable mind called the Nibbana. That's the price you get for the hard work. Because the gene, the DNA will tell us, no, you look after yourself. Because gene is all about, DNA is all about, it's called the selfish gene. It's all about I, me, myself, self-perseverance and just going forward. So this is about going against this gene code. That's why it's difficult. Yeah? That's why it's difficult. That's why we don't control anything. That, we don't work hard to get rid of this sense of self or anything that comes with that. We just live with total ignorance, keeping it and also behaving in the wrong ways. We don't even keep the 5 precepts because we are not practicing it, we are not doing it from the proper way. Because it's not based on understanding. Just another ritual. We do at the beginning of a good ceremony. After that we go and live the way we want. So we are not free from stress. Did I answer to your question? There's a quality in the Dhamma that we are very sensitive. This body, this nervous system is very sensitive to the truths. When we hear the real truths, the body relaxes and the comfort comes and the happiness comes. So I hope that whatever I have taught is not something mine. What Buddha had taught, I shared with you, and that is whole truth. So when you hear the truth, if you understand that, if the system accepts it, by now you should be very relaxed, comfortable, and some peace and happiness should be with you. So we have generated a lot of positive energy now, a lot of good energy, calm energy. So now what we can do is share that with seeing beings, unseeing beings, and also we can direct it to specific purposes. So as Buddhists, what we do when we generate this type of good quality energy, we share. So let's share these merits with all the departed relatives and the friends and all the monks and the nuns who associated with this place to bring it to this state, and who are no longer with us, who I know is late Chief Kirinda Dhammananda Mahanayaka Thero, and also Bante Punnaji Mahathero, and also Bhikkhuni Kusuma Mahatheri, and the Sister Bodhi. So let's share these merits with them and also with everyone else who have been part of this temple, vihara, and who are no longer with us, and also your relatives and friends. May they be able to access these merits, and may they rejoice in these merits. May they find a good birth if they are in need of one. If they are having a good birth, may they be able to listen to this Dhamma and penetrate into the Dhamma, and may they also find freedom from physical, mental suffering as soon as possible, and may they attain the Nibbana as soon as possible. So keeping that loving, kind, caring thought, let's share these merits with the departed by chanting Idam me ñāti nang hotu gata. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Also, let's share these merits with the Devas, the divine beings. May the Devas also partake and rejoice in these merits. May the Devas' happiness and the good fortune increase. And may they protect us and the Sasana, and may they help you and everyone in whichever the way they can to show you the path and to help you to come to the self-realization. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation, and one fine day, when whatever the wish they have to attain enlightenment from whichever the Bodhi, whether it's a Samma Sambuddha Bodhi or the Pacheka Buddha Bodhi or the Sravaka Buddha Bodhi, may they be able to attain enlightenment when the way they wish to get enlightened. So may the Devas also find freedom from suffering and get enlightened as and when they wish to get enlightened. Keeping that loving, kind, compassionate thought in your heart, let's chant Akasatta ca Bhummatta Gatha and share the merits with the Devas. Akasatta ca Bhummatta Deva Naga Mahiddhika Punyantang Anumoditva Chiran Rakkantu Buddha Sasana. Akasatta ca Bhummatta Deva Naga Mahiddhika Punyantang Anumoditva Chiran Rakkantu Buddha Desana. Akasatta ca Bhummatta Deva Naga Mahiddhika Punyantang Anumoditva Chiran Rakkantu Mamparanti. Also, let's share this merit with all beings. Etthavata chammehi sabadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbe sattha anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Also, let's make the aspiration that may all the merits that we have generated today bring causes and conditions for us to not to find the association with the wicked and the foolish, but to find the association with the wise, with the good and the wise, until we attain Nibbana. Keeping that aspiration in the mind, let's chant. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo Satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Also make the aspiration that may all the merits that we generated today bring causes and conditions for all of us to penetrate into the Four Noble Truths and to be able to understand it and put it to practice and find liberation from all kinds of physical, mental suffering and attain the bliss of Nibbana if possible in this very life. Keeping that aspiration in the mind, let's chant. Idam me punyang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamujjatu. I would also like to make a special thank for Bhante for attending the talk, and also I would like to share the merits with the current chief, our Dhammaratana Nayaka Thero, and also with all the other monks and the nuns who live here, and also with the committee, and also with the dayakas, the devotees, the supporters, and volunteers, and also with all of you. So much merits for coming tonight and listen to this talk. As you can see, it's only the Dhamma that can save us from all problems, troubles and suffering. So it's very important that we understand the Dhamma and we practice and we experience the fruits and then help others also to experience, taste this good fruit. So much merits for coming today, even though with a short notice. And so I would like to wish all of you, may all of you and also everyone in your family, your parents, your teachers, your children, your siblings, your partners, your grandchildren, and your relatives and your friends, may all of you Find good health and long life. Whatever you do, the good endeavors, your good vocation, the children's studies, and your good aspirations, may they all come true. And may you find peace of mind, comfort, and happiness. And one fine day, may you all be able to penetrate into the Four Noble Truths as soon as possible. And may you be able to live in abiding with the Dhamma. And may you be able to experience the good fruits, the taste that the Dhamma can give you, the instant relaxation, peace of mind and happiness, the power that the Dhamma has to help you to find freedom from all suffering. May you all realize that, and may you be able to practice this Dhamma, and may you all be able to find freedom from physical and mental suffering and attain the bliss of Nibbana in this very life. May you all be well, comfortable, peaceful and happy. Sukhi hotu. Sabhityo vivajjantu sabharogo vinasatu mate bhavatmantarayo sukhi digayuko bhava bhavato sabha mangalang rakantu sabha devata sabha buddhanubhavena sabha dhammanubhavena sabha sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te abhivadana silisa niccang buddha pacayino Chatharo dhamma vaddampi ayuvarno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampappi sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti minate samejjatu sopatteva nidukkeva nirokisukya. May you all be well and happy and attain Nibbana as soon as possible.